Just going back upwind now. That last fish we had, when he snapped me, I had to reset up, and I drifted way past where the fish were. So I'm keeping a wide berth from them so as not to spook them. I'm going to swing the boat around and then drift back towards the fish that are coming upwind. I've actually taken off, well, I haven't bothered setting up with 3 flies this time. I've just gone with 2 dialbacks, and I've done away with the buzzer that I had on the point. The buzzer was actually dragging the flies down, and the fact that I had the 2 first, those 2 fish, and indeed the one I lost as well, on the top dropper, they're feeding right at the surface. So 2 flies won't sink quite as quickly, and I should be in the action zone a little bit longer. Let's see if I can spot where they are. There's one. That was straight in line with him. It's better if you can to come across them slightly. That way they can see both flies. There we go, just over there. That fly landed behind him, but no, there, as soon as it hit the water. Oh, he's coming towards me, I can't keep up, Ooh, that's it. Oh, some serious pulling needed there. Again, the top dropper. Not a big fish, but they all taste great. This is eating size. Heads up and over the net. There we go. And they're still here and still moving. Don't you hate fishing shows where they're just pulling fish in all the time? It doesn't normally happen. Hopefully you're trying to impart a little bit of information. You see, that one was hooked clean in the scissors. Because the fly was coming across him, as he's coming forward, he's hooked right on the edge of the scissors there. That's the perfect spot. They rarely get off if you hook them there. Bonus. Into the bag. Well, that's 3 here. And it is looking as though maybe things are too easy. I say, I want a day's fishing. So I think we'll leave them alone now. Let somebody else come through and have a go at them. And we'll go up to the very top end where I'm hoping we'll find some better size fish. Decided to move from the spot where I caught the 3 fish earlier on. That was a very shallow area in front of the lodge. Now moved to the top end of the reservoir, the east end of the reservoir. The water here is deeper. I'll be looking at about 8 to 10 foot, as opposed to just about 5 foot I had outside the lodge. So I want the flies to get a bit deeper. The reason for that is I can't see any fish moving. I can only assume that they're down a bit. So I'm going to keep the 2 dialbacks on because they were very successful. Red rib dialbacks work here throughout the year very well. But they also have buzzers in them. So I've got my box and I'm going to put on a straight black buzzer. It's an epoxy buzzer, very slim, and it will sink well. That will help to bring the dialbacks down a bit deeper in the water as well. So I'm going to put about 4 foot from what is now my point fly, turning that into a dropper, and I'll have a point 4 foot below that. So I'm covering different depths in the water. I want to fish a little bit deeper here, so I've decided to put a buzzer on the point, an epoxy buzzer, because that will sink nicely. And that will drag my two dial backs down a little bit deeper. The water here, like down there, gin clear, no sign of fish moving. They're going to be down a bit. So I'm going to attach this, turning my point fly into a dropper. This then becomes my point fly about 4.5 feet farther down, so that I can fish different depths. Right, I've got 10 pounds from the 10 pound fluorocarbon at the tip of the fly line, only about 4 foot of it. My top dropper is then attached to an extra length of 8 pounds, so I've got a slight difference in diameter of line, so again a slight taper, which helps things to turn over. So I've got 10, 8, and now I'm going down to 6 for the point to help the flies turn over when we cast. And I'm going to be attaching my dropper. The fly's already on there. I prefer to tie my knots, my dropper knots, with the dropper fly already in position. It allows me to select the length of dropper I want, normally about 5-6 inches. And I'm going to do a 4-turn water knot. So I just lay the two lines side by side, form a circle, so that I'm now holding basically what 4 pieces of line, as it were. And I need to keep that firmly gripped so that these loops remain equal size. Then it's simply a matter of threading the fly and the rest of the line through the loop 4 times. All the time keeping those loops close together. That's the basis of the knot. Now all I have to do is wet it and slide it together. Wet the line so I don't get any friction, and then I can just slide it to the length I want and pull it tight. And that forms a lovely small knot with the strength, the 8 pound strength, going straight through it. I've got a little tag end there, which I'm just going to nip off. And there's my completed dropper. And now to put the fly on. The knot I use for this is a uni knot. Simple and quick. So there's the fly lying in my hand. I've threaded the line through. Hold on to those 2 pieces. Take the tag end around the finger there. So now I'm holding this loop together along with these 2 pieces. And the tag end will simply go around through the loop 5 times. There we go. And that's that knot formed. And wet it. Slide it loosely together and then pull it down to the hook. And then I pull tight and nip off the tag. Nice and close. And now I've got a nice long 3-team leader ready to go. Let's get fishing. Well, I've set up the drift roughly in the area that I want. I really wanted to go over in that direction, but the wind is light and variable. So when I first got to this spot to start the drift, the wind was slightly easterly. Now it's swinging. So I'm not going directly the line that I want, unfortunately. But there are still fish out there somewhere. I've got an 18-foot leader on, still on the floating line because I like to see it. And the water is still only around 12 to 14 foot deep. Doesn't really warrant a sinking line. The long leader should cover it. Well, nothing's happening. It's bright, it's gone very calm, not a fish moving anywhere. I don't think I'm getting down to them. Despite having an 18-foot leader on, you know, they're still fishing too high in the water. So I'm going to change. I'm going to put on a new outfit, I'll set up another rod with an intermediate. And I'll probably go for a washing line for a while and see how that works. I'll show you what the washing line is once I've got the rod set up. I've changed my rig now. I've set up a rod with an intermediate line and I'm going to fish the washing line method. So what I've got is about 6 foot to a dropper, and as we had success with this earlier, the dropper fly on the top is going to be a red rib dialback. I've then got 3 foot to another dropper. This time I've gone for a green ribbed, just to ring the changes a little bit. You know, they might decide they prefer green today than red. And then on to the point, which is a booby. Now that's a beast. Well, not compared to a lot of them. The idea of this is the intermediate line goes out, it starts to sink. The flies go down with it, and the booby holds them up a little bit. So they're actually like a washing line, with the 2 droppers hanging off of it. Let that sink, I can count it down, and I can try different depths until I find where the fish are. Figure of 8 retrieve, nice and steady, and maybe with a little pull now and then, just in case anything fancies the booby. There are still insects hatching off. Look at that one. Yeah, boobies aren't the easiest things to pull out of the water like this. Let's get some line out there. There we go. So now I'm waiting for the intermediate line to sink down a little bit, and that's going to pull the 2 dialbacks down with it, leaving the booby on the surface. That allows me to control how deep I'm going to start my retrieve. When I do start the retrieve, the booby will pull down and everything will start to come back in a straight line. That's why it's called the washing line. The flies will be suspended at that. And I should count and try different depths until hopefully I start getting takes and find out exactly how deep those fish are. Well, it's very, very quiet, so I thought I'd take an opportunity to show you my dropper knot. It's called a 4-turn water knot. A lot of people use it, but it's worth running through. I'm using rope. This piece of rope represents the line coming from my fly line to the rod. This is the next piece down, and I want to put a dropper on. All I do, lay the lines over each other like this. form a nice big loop and hold those pieces of line together, all 4 of them. To make the knot now, I simply have to put the thicker piece and the thinner piece around and through 4 times. Now, because this is rope and not nylon, 4 times isn't going to go. It's too hairy. So I'll just do 3. You would do 4. Once I've got to that stage, the loops together, holding on to both ends of the line, I would normally wet it. The reason we wet the line is to provide a little bit of lubrication. Otherwise, when you pull it together, friction can damage the outside of the line, and that weakens the knot and the line. Not at all good. So I'd wet it and then pull it together, and it forms a nice, neat, small knot. There we are. So that's the dropper knot. Where does a dropper go? A lot of times I see people say, I want my flies to stand off of the line when they're in the water. So they decide to tie the fly here, on this piece. This is our lower diameter line. And look what happens. If they get a take on a hook on here, boom. You can see the stress there on that knot. The fly line, sorry, the nylon rather, is biting onto itself down here, and that severely weakens it. Me, that piece, I cut that straight off. My dropper hangs from the stronger piece. Everything is going through the knot, very, very much stronger. And you can see that would hang beautifully. So that's it, a dropper knot. Time to fish again. Well, absolutely perfect conditions for barbecuing up here at the top end. Came up here because it's an area that I know contains better fish, and that was confirmed to me earlier on today when I spoke to Bob Hanford. But I really think the conditions have slaughtered us. It's 10 foot deep, I can see everything on the bottom. Bright sunshine, no ripple. I haven't had a tap now for probably 3 hours or more. There's a little bit of cloud bubbling up. If we get that and a bit of a ripple, things could change. If not, I'll be going back up towards the dam where there are smaller fish. All right, the wind's got up a little bit now. I was drifting without a drogue and it's pushing us along quite quickly. The sun's gone beyond the cloud at last, and I've actually seen 3 or 4 fish move, but it's pushed us off the line that I wanted. So I'm going to wind in, or at least pull the line in, motor up maybe 100 yards or so, and deploy the drogue to slow us down so that I can drift back over this spot at a pace to suit myself. There we go, let's get that in. And get the motor going. And spin us right round, go straight up, then get the boat on the right angle to the wind so that I'm not drifting over the water I've just come over with the boat. Something like a parachute acts as a brake under the water for us, slows us down. It'll float for a while, and then once we overtake it, it'll start to sink. There. and start fishing. Well, it's been a long day. Started off really well. I mean, the first couple of drifts outside the lodge. See the fish moving? Catch the fish. Fantastic. Then I thought, well, you know, I'd like to go and get something better, so I went down the top end and I found my frailty. It got very hot, very calm. I tried absolutely everything. I kept on the dial bass that I started off with and drifted. Went down right to the shallow end. You could see the bottom, nothing. So to try and get down, we tried the washing line method. So I set up another rod with a sinking line, 2 droppers, booby, gave that a go. Even went to the extreme for me of putting on my terrorist flies. That is to say, big lures, and pulling them back. Blobs, boobies, all sorts. Nothing worked. They just weren't having it. We were just about to give up when some cloud came over. There was a nice bit of ripple. Fish started moving. So I set up my dry flies. How to go with that? No sooner I got it set up, then out comes the sun and down they went again. So we've stuck at it now for what? 7 or 8 hours since I had those first 3 fish. It's been a fantastic day. I've really enjoyed it, but I didn't manage to crack it. Well, the sun's going down. It's been a long day. It's been a beautiful day weather-wise. Bright sunshine. It's great if you want to go out sunbathing, but it makes the fishing very hard. So I'm going to call it a day there. Thanks to Bristol Water in Blagdon. What a beautiful place. Loads of fish left in here. I haven't caught them all today. You catch a fish here, you know you've earned it. I've got to go back in.